A machine drifts through the black, a relic from an era when humanity still dreamed of touching the stars. Launched in the late 1970s, the probe carries a golden record etched with sounds of Earth whale songs, Mozart, A Mother's Lullaby. Its mission was simple: explore the outer planets, then sail into the void, a messenger for a species that might not survive its own infancy. For decades, it sent faint whispers back to Earth, data packets traveling billions of miles through the cosmic dark. Its creators, long retired or gone, never expected it to last this long, yet it did, powered by a fading heart of plutonium, its instruments clinging to life in the cold of interstellar space. Then, in the emptiness where nothing should exist, it heard something. Not a command from Earth, not a random burst of radiation. Something precise, rhythmic, and impossibly clear. The probe, built only to speak, seemed to listen. And when it turned its dish toward a point in the sky with no stars, no galaxies, no reason to look, it answered back 15 billion miles from home. The probe floats in a realm beyond the sun's reach. The heliopause, that invisible boundary where solar winds give way to the galaxy's vast indifference, lies far behind. Here the universe is a silent expanse, punctuated only by the faint crackle of cosmic rays. The probe's systems, designed in an age of punch cards and slide rules, hum along at minimal power. Its memory, smaller than a modern smartphone's cache, records magnetic fields, particle counts, and the occasional flicker of plasma waves. Every few months it beams this data to Earth, a 22-hour journey at the speed of light. The signal arrives, weak, barely distinguishable from background noise, but NASA's antennas, giant dishes in California, Spain, and Australia still catch it, amplifying the probe's voice into something readable. For 47 years, this routine held, until it didn't. On a quiet night in 2025, engineers at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory notice a glitch. The data stream, usually a predictable string of binary, comes through scrambled, not corrupted, not lost, but rearranged, as if the probe is speaking a new language. At first, they assume it's a fault in the aging flight computer. Radiation could have flipped a bit, or a capacitor might have failed. The probe is old, its components brittle from decades of cosmic bombardment. They send a diagnostic command, a digital nudge to reset the system. The response takes 44 hours to return, and when it does, it's not what they expect. The probe's systems report normal function, power stable, instruments active, but the data includes an anomaly. A pattern, repeating every 17 seconds, embedded in the telemetry like a hidden track on a vinyl record. It's not random noise. It's structured, almost melodic, oscillating at 2,800 Hz. A frequency the probe's plasma wave instrument wasn't designed to prioritize. The engineers dig deeper. They pull archived logs, cross-reference with past transmissions, and find no precedent. The probe's plasma wave subsystem, meant to detect natural oscillations in ionized gas, has never recorded anything like this. The signal's rhythm is too consistent, its peaks and troughs too symmetrical. It's not the chaotic buzz of a solar flare or the hiss of interstellar dust. It feels crafted, like a beacon. The team runs simulations, modeling cosmic phenomena that could mimic such a pattern. Pulsars, too fast; black hole emissions, too irregular; nothing fits. The signal's precision defies every known natural source. And then they notice something stranger. The probe's high-gain antenna, fixed on Earth for nearly half a century, has shifted. Not by much, 1.3 degrees, but enough to misalign with mission control. It's now pointing at a patch of sky in the constellation of Ophiuchus, a region with no notable celestial objects. Just void. No command was sent to adjust the antenna. The probe's thrusters, used for orientation, show no activity in the logs. Solar pressure, a faint push from distant sunlight, is too weak at this distance to cause such a shift. The team checks for micrometeoroid impacts, but the probe's sensors report no collisions. The movement is inexplicable, as if the probe decided to look elsewhere. The engineers, trained to distrust anomalies, hypothesized a software glitch. They send another command, instructing the probe to realign its antenna with Earth. The response arrives 2 days later. The antenna hasn't moved back. Instead, the signal's intensity has increased, as if the probe is now transmitting with more power than its decaying plutonium core should allow. The 2,800 Hz pattern is clearer, its rhythm unbroken, and buried within it is something new, a sequence of numbers, repeating in sets of 13, formatted in a way that resembles no known protocol. The discovery ripples through NASA. A task force forms, pulling in astrophysicists, signal analysts, and even cryptographers. The numbers don't match any human code, not binary, not ASCII, not even the probe's own telemetry format. They appear mathematical, structured around prime numbers, and logarithmic spirals, patterns that hint at universal constants like pi or the golden ratio. But the precision is staggering, measured 2 decimal places beyond the probe's capability. It's as if the data was injected into the system, bypassing the probe's limited hardware. The team debates whether to go public. Some argue it's a glitch, a ghost in the machine. Others whisper what no one wants to say aloud. This could be contact. Days turn into weeks. The probe continues transmitting the strange signal, its antenna locked on the empty patch of sky. Observatories on Earth swing their telescopes toward Ophiuchus, searching for anything that could explain the anomaly. At first they see nothing, the expected scatter of distant stars. But then, a faint infrared signature emerges, a glow so dim it's barely detectable. It's not a star, not a galaxy, but a diffuse shimmer, pulsing in sync with the probe's signal. When the sun releases a coronal mass ejection, a burst of charged particles, the glow responds, brightening slightly. 17 seconds later. The delay suggests distance, not reflection, as if something out there is reacting to solar activity. The shimmer moves, not randomly but in a slow, elliptical path, as if orbiting an invisible point. The task force grows restless. The probe's behavior defies its design. Built to observe, not interact, it lacks the systems to respond to external stimuli autonomously. Yet it's acting as if it's in dialogue with something. The team tries to regain control, sending a series of commands to override the antenna's position. Each command is acknowledged, but the probe doesn't comply. Its systems remain stable, no power surges, no hardware failures, but it's ignoring Earth. The signal's complexity increases. The numerical sequences now include fractal-like patterns, self-repeating structures that unfold infinitely when analyzed. A mathematician on the team points out that the sequences resemble a Mandelbrot set, but encoded in a way that suggests intentional design. It's not just data, it's a message, layered so densely that decoding it would take years. A new theory emerges. What if the probe didn't find the signal? What if the signal found the probe? The idea is unsettling. The signal's narrow focus, its alignment with the probe's exact position, suggests precision beyond chance. No other spacecraft New Horizons, even Voyager 2 report similar anomalies. This is targeted, specific to a probe launched when disco ruled the airwaves. The team calculates the odds. The probe's trajectory, predictable for decades, could have been anticipated by something with enough computational power. But who, or what, could know its path 15 billion miles from Earth? And why now? The infrared shimmer becomes the focus of intense study. Telescopes in Chile and Hawaii capture high-resolution images, revealing a structure within the glow, a lattice of faint lines, like a web stretched across the void. It's not a physical object, not a spacecraft or station, but a field, electromagnetic in nature, oscillating in harmony with the probe's signal. The lattice's geometry is complex, its lines curving in ways that defy Euclidean space. A physicist suggests it resembles a Calabi-Yau manifold, a theoretical shape from string theory, folded into higher dimensions. If true, it's not just a signal but a phenomenon, something that exists at the edge of known physics. The probe's transmissions grow stranger. The 2,800 Hz tone shifts, incorporating harmonics that resonate like chords. Acoustic experts, brought in to analyze the sound, describe it as musical, with intervals that mirror human scales, major thirds, perfect fifth spot arranged in a way that feels alien, as if composed for senses beyond human perception. The tone doesn't degrade over distance, arriving at Earth with unnatural clarity. It's not just a sound, it's a presence, carrying weight, intention. The numerical sequences evolve, now including references to physical constants. Constant, the speed of light, but measured with precision that suggests observation from outside the universe's frame. Alex Harper was 32, stuck in a cubicle under fluorescent lights, staring at spreadsheets that blurred into meaningless numbers. Each morning he'd wake at 5 a.m., iron a shirt, and join the commuter crawl to a corporate office in suburban Ohio. His job as a data analyst paid the bills, but it felt like a slow drain on his soul. Meetings dragged on, filled with jargon about synergies and quarterly targets. While his mind wandered to the open road, the rumble of engines, and the smell of oil-stained leather. Outside those glass walls, Alex had a secret. In his garage, under a flickering bulb, sat a 1974 Honda CB750, rusted and silent, a relic from a thriftier era. That bike was more than metal. It was a dream he'd buried under years of practicality. Growing up in a small town outside Dayton, Alex learned to fix things early. His dad, a welder, and his uncle, a part-time mechanic, never bought new. They'd patch up lawnmowers, tractors, anything with gears, teaching Alex to see potential in what others discarded. At 16, he rebuilt his first motorcycle, a beat-up Yamaha he found in a neighbor's barn. The thrill of coaxing it back to life, cleaning the carburetor, rewiring the ignition, hearing it roar after weeks of work lit something in him. But life had other plans. College, a stable career, and a mortgage pushed that spark to the back burner. By his late 20s, he was deep in the corporate grind, his hands clean of grease but his heart heavy with regret. The Honda in his garage wasn't just a bike, it was a rebellion against the life he'd settled for. Nights after work, he'd slip into jeans, crank a playlist of classic rock and tinker. The bike was in rough shape, its frame speckled with rust, the engine seized, the seat cracked like desert earth. Most would have called it junk, but Alex saw a story waiting to be told. He didn't have a big budget or a fancy workshop, just a toolbox from his dad and a stubborn refusal to give up. Each bolt he loosened felt like peeling back the layers of his own discontent. The more he worked, the more he realized he wasn't just fixing a bike, he was fixing himself. One evening, after a particularly soul-crushing day of performance reviews, Alex made a choice. He'd been watching YouTube channels guys wrenching on cars, boats, even old tractors, sharing their process with millions. Why not him? He didn't know much about cameras or editing, but he had a story. A guy stuck in a cubicle, chasing freedom through a rusty motorcycle. He propped his phone on a paint can, hit record, and started talking as he worked on the Honda's fuel tank. His first video was shaky, the audio muffled, but it was real. "I'm just a guy trying to make this thing run again," he said, holding up a corroded spark plug. "If I can do it, maybe you can too." He uploaded it to YouTube, calling his channel Iron Road Revival. He didn't expect much, just a way to document the journey. The response wasn't instant, but it grew. A few hundred views turned into thousands, comments poured in. "This is the most real channel I've found," one viewer wrote. "Keep it up, man, you're living my dream." Alex wasn't polished like the big creators with sponsored toolkits and gleaming shops. His garage was cluttered, his hands dirty, his budget non-existent, but that's what people loved. They saw themselves in his struggle, 8 nights wrestling with a stuck piston, cursing a stripped bolt, celebrating when the engine sputtered to life. By the time he got the Honda running, 6 months after that first video, his channel had 50,000 subscribers. The bike's maiden ride, a wobbly trip down his street with the engine coughing but alive, got 200,000 views. Alex's videos weren't just about mechanics. He shared the why behind his work, how the corporate world left him hollow, how the garage was his escape. He'd talk about his dad's lessons, like using a coffee can to organize bolts or rigging a fix with wire and duct tape. His humor was dry, self-deprecating. "If I can get this thing running without burning my house down, that's a win." Viewers connected with his honesty, his refusal to pretend he had all the answers. He wasn't chasing perfection, he was chasing progress. That resonated in a world obsessed with polished facades. The Honda CB750 became his first big success, but it was just the start. Alex started hunting for other forgotten bikes. He'd scour online listings, rural auctions, even junkyards, looking for machines others had given up on. One standout was a 1981 Kawasaki KZ1000, abandoned in a shed for 20 years. Its engine was a scummed-up valves, a cracked manifold, but Alex saw potential. He documented every step, from draining sludge like oil to rebuilding the clutch. The process wasn't glamorous. He worked on a concrete floor, his only light, a shop lamp swinging from a nail. When the Kawasaki finally roared to life, the video hit 1 million views. Fans loved the transformation, but more than that, they loved Alex's persistence. "You don't need a fat wallet," he'd say. "You need patience and a willingness to get dirty." His channel grew to 300,000 subscribers, then 500,000. Companies noticed, tool brands, oil companies, even a local brewery offered sponsorships. Alex was cautious. He'd seen other creators lose their authenticity, shilling products they didn't use. He only partnered with brands he trusted, like a small Ohio toolmaker whose wrenches he'd used for years. The extra income let him upgrade his setup, a better camera, a microphone that didn't sound like it was underwater, but he kept the garage vibe. "This isn't a TV set," he told his audience. "It's where I figure things out." The corporate job became harder to justify. Alex was pulling 60-hour weeks at the office, then filming and editing late into the night. His boss didn't get it, dismissing his hobby as a distraction. But the numbers told a different story. By year 2, Iron Road Revival was earning more than his salary. His wife, Sarah, who'd been skeptical at first, saw the shift in him. "You're happier in that garage than you've ever been at a desk," she said. They sat down with a calculator, ran the numbers, and made a plan. At 34, Alex quit his job. Walking out of that office, he felt lighter than he had in years. The cubicle was behind him, the open road was ahead. Leaving corporate life wasn't just about money, it was about time. In Ohio, Alex's commute ate 2 hours daily, time he couldn't spend with Sarah or their 2 kids, Mia and Ethan. He'd missed soccer games, school plays, moments that don't come back. The decision to go full-time with Iron Road Revival wasn't just about bikes, it was about reclaiming his life. He moved his family to a small property outside Columbus, with a bigger garage and a yard for the kids. The new shop wasn't fancy, but it was his. He built a workbench from scrap wood, hung his dad's old tools on the wall, and got to work. One of Alex's most ambitious projects was a 1969 Triumph Bonneville, a British classic he found half buried in a farmer's field. The bike was a wreck, missing its front wheel, the frame bent, the engine a rusted lump. Most restorers would have passed, but Alex loved the challenge. "This thing's got a story," he told his viewers, brushing dirt off the cracked tank. The restoration took 9 months. He had to source parts from 3 continents, bartering with collectors and scouring online forums. When the carburetor wouldn't cooperate, He rigged a temporary fix with a soda can shim, a trick his uncle taught him. The Triumph's first ride, a throaty cruise through Ohio backroads, was watched by 1.5 million people. Comments flooded in. "You made that pile of rust a masterpiece," one wrote. "This is why I watch." Alex's channel wasn't just about fixing bikes. It was about community. Fans started sending him letters, photos of their own projects, even small parts they thought he could use. He'd feature them in videos, holding up a hand-drawn sketch from a kid in Texas or a gasket set from a retiree in Michigan. "This is your channel as much as mine," he'd say. He started a series called Viewer Rides, showcasing followers' motorcycles and their stories. One episode featured a single mom who'd rebuilt a 1980s Suzuki with her teenage son. The video went viral, and Alex sent them a box of tools as a thank you. His audience grew to 800,000, drawn by his generosity and relatability. The success caught the attention of a cable network, Velocity Channel, which offered Alex a TV show called Road Dust Rebels. The concept was simple. Alex would travel the country finding abandoned motorcycles and getting them running, often with the owner's help. The first episode featured a 1977 Harley-Davidson Sportster, left in a barn after its owner passed away. Alex worked with the owner's daughter, teaching her basic mechanics as they revived the bike. The episode aired to strong ratings, with viewers praising the emotional depth. "It's not just about the bike," one reviewer wrote. "It's about keeping memories alive." TV brought challenges. Unlike YouTube where Alex controlled everything, the show had producers, deadlines, and budgets. He had to condense projects that took weeks into a 44-minute episode. Sometimes, the network pushed for flashier builds, but Alex stayed firm. "I'm not slapping chrome on a bike just for show," he told them. He insisted on keeping it real, using affordable parts, showing the failures, letting the owner's stories shine. The compromise paid off. Road Dust Rebels became a hit, running for 2 seasons and boosting his YouTube channel to 1.2 million subscribers. Despite the TV gig, Alex never abandoned YouTube. The platform was his roots, where he could be unfiltered. He'd post raw, unedited videos of late-night wrenching sessions, talking about life as much as mechanics. One video, where he admitted to doubting himself during a tough build, struck a chord. "I thought about quitting last week," he said, staring at a stubborn engine. "But you guys keep me going." The video got 2 million views, with thousands of comments sharing personal struggles. Alex realized his channel was more than entertainment. It was a lifeline for people feeling stuck, just like he'd been. Money started flowing. Sponsorships grew, local businesses, then national brands, like a tire company and a helmet manufacturer. Alex launched a merchandise line, t-shirts with his catchphrase, "Fix it, ride it, love it," and hoodies with a silhouette of the Honda CB750. Sales were strong, especially after he donated part of the profits to a charity teaching kids mechanical skills. He also started a small online store for rebuilt parts, sourcing them from his projects and selling them at fair prices. The business side wasn't glamorous spreadsheets again, but this time for something he cared about, but it gave him stability. By year 3, Iron Road Revival was a full-fledged brand, supporting his family and letting him hire a part-time editor to ease the workload. In 2024, Alex took on a new challenge: vintage motorcycle racing. He'd always loved the idea of pushing his builds to their limits, not just cruising but competing. He entered the Great Lakes Classic, a regional race for pre-1980 bikes. His entry was a 1973 Norton Commando he'd spent a year restoring. The bike wasn't the fastest. 850cc engine couldn't match modern machines, but it was tough, built with the same scrappy ingenuity as his channel. At the race, Alex didn't win, but he finished, the Norton's engine screaming as he crossed the line. Fans who'd followed the build on YouTube cheered from the stands. "That's what it's about," he said in a post-race video. "Not trophies, but proving these old bikes still have heart." The racing bug bit hard. Alex started building a 1967 BSA Lightning for the next season, documenting every step. He kept costs low, using salvaged parts and trading favors with other racers. The BSA was a beast, unpredictable, loud, and a little scary, but that's what drew him to it. "It's like me," he told viewers. "A little rough, but it keeps going." The build videos became some of his most popular, with fans debating his choices in the comments. Should he rejet the carb? Swap the forks? Alex loved the engagement, often jumping into discussions with detailed replies. When the BSA hit the track, it didn't just run, it flew, clocking a respectable time and earning him a spot in the vintage racing community. Family remained Alex's anchor. Sarah handled the business side, managing orders and coordinating with sponsors, while Mia and Ethan started hanging out in the garage. At 10, Ethan could name every part of a carburetor. Mia, 12, helped film videos, her steady hand improving the production quality. Alex made sure his content stayed family-friendly, avoiding profanity and keeping the focus on the work. He'd often include the kids in videos, letting them turn a wrench or ride behind him on a finished bike. "This is for them," he'd say. "I want them to know you can build a life doing what you love." The move to the new property had been a game changer. The shorter commute meant more time with his family, more hours in the shop. Ohio's rolling hills were perfect for test rides, and the milder winters let him work year-round. Financially, the state's lower taxes helped, letting him reinvest in better tools and bigger projects. He bought a small trailer to haul bikes, 2 races and shows, where he'd meet fans and swap stories. The community aspect was what kept him grounded. At a local car and bike show, a teenager approached him with a notebook full of sketches, inspired by Alex's videos to start restoring a scooter. Alex spent an hour talking to him, sharing tips and encouraging him to keep going. Alex's impact went beyond YouTube and TV. He started hosting workshops at his shop, teaching basic mechanics to locals. Most attendees were beginners, people who'd never held a wrench but wanted to learn. He kept the sessions affordable, sometimes free, covering topics like brake repair and chain maintenance. You don't need a degree, he'd tell them. You need curiosity and a willingness to fail. The workshops grew, and he partnered with a community center to offer classes to underprivileged teens. One of his proudest moments was when a student, a shy 17-year-old, got a job at a bike shop after learning from Alex. By 2025, Iron Road Revival had 1.8 million subscribers, and Road Dust Rebels was renewed for a 3rd season. Alex's net worth wasn't public, but he didn't need to flaunt it. He drove a used pickup, lived in a modest house, and poured most of his earnings back into the business or his family. He'd occasionally splurge a vintage leather jacket or a rare part for a build, but money wasn't the point. I'm rich in time, he'd say. Time to work, to ride, to be with my kids. His videos still had that raw, garage-born feel, even as production quality improved. Fans noticed the little things. The same coffee can for bolts, the same playlist of Zeppelin and Skinner in the background. One project defined Alex's legacy, the 1955 Vincent Black Shadow, a holy grail for motorcycle enthusiasts. He found it in pieces at an estate sale, its owner a reclusive collector who'd let it rot. The restoration was brutal, missing parts, a cracked crankcase, wiring that looked like a rat's nest. Alex spent 18 months on it, documenting every setback. When the engine fired up, its deep, throaty growl brought tears to his eyes. He rode it to a national bike show, where it won Best in Class, not for polish but for spirit. The video series, The Black Shadow Diaries, became his most watched, with 10 million views across episodes. Fans called it his masterpiece. Not just for the bike but for what it represented, a guy who refused to let dreams rust. Alex's journey wasn't about fame or fortune. It was about freedom, the freedom to build, to create, to live on his terms. He'd gone from a cubicle to a garage, from spreadsheets to spark plugs, from a life of should to a life of want. His channel, his show, his races, they were all proof that you don't need a big budget or a fancy degree to make something real. You need grit, a few tools, and a reason to keep going. For Alex, that reason was simple: the rumble of an engine, the wind on an open road, and the knowledge that he was inspiring others to chase their own spark, one wrench turn at a time.